Chapter 3 Squad Jam. Squad Jam is a Gale online tournament where a bunch of squads get together and have a battle royale to determine who's the best. Battle royale? You mean that thing where everybody fights everybody? Len and Pitahui trekked across the wasteland as they chatted. Giant earthworms successfully hunted. Naturally, they were still wary and watching to make sure they'd be ready for a player ambush. Normally, Len preferred to look at the face of the person she was talking to, but this situation called for her to scan ahead and to the sides as she talked. That's right! You know about the Battle of Bullets, right? Everybody calls it the Bob. Len nodded. Only the name and concept, though. The Bob was the Battle Royale event that determined the greatest player in GGO. It started with one-on-one preliminary brackets, and the 30 champions who arose were then dropped into a vast map to fight until there was just one left. It was unquestionably the biggest event in GGO, and each successive installment seemed to get even more exciting. Many players practically dedicated their lives to appearing in this tournament as a finalist. The third BOB had recently taken place. Len hadn't considered entering at all, of course, so she didn't know what it entailed or how it looked. She had been away from her apartment, having dinner with her sister's family, so she hadn't dived that night and she hadn't watched any streamed footage. They held the third BOB recently. I was in it too. I just didn't tell anyone about it, because there was a chance that real life might have interfered with its timing. Oh, how did it go? Lost in the prelims. Just the second round, too. That's too bad. Yeah, I got sniped, so I was just unlucky. But something funny happened in the final Battle Royale event. Right at the very end, two players teamed up to fight together. I didn't know people did that. Well, I'll avoid spoiling the ending since you might watch the video at some point. But my point is that it was really thrilling and super entertaining to watch. I got chills. That's neat. It was a surprise to Len to hear Pitahui speaking so passionately about anything that wasn't more guns. It made her want to watch the event's video. So here's my main point. Some Japanese person watching that video got all hot and bothered, thinking, I want to see a team battle royale like this next. There's no way a team-on-team version of this wouldn't be just as exciting. I see. So, that blessed soul sent a message in machine-translated English to Zaskar, the American company that runs GGO. Dear sirs, everybody, I'd like to see a team battle royale, so please hold it. Wait, are you saying they actually did this on a single individual suggestion? That's right. This person told Zaskar they'd put up all the funds needed to run such an event. In other words, agreed to sponsor it. I have no idea how much something like that would cost. The sponsor's identity got revealed, and it turned out to be some 50-something novelist with a pathological obsession with guns, and whose books all involved shooting stuff. Wow, talk about an eccentric. I mean, having an obsession with guns makes you a weirdo to begin with, but especially when you're a writer, it's like the worst possible combination, you know? That's the kind of person who needs to be arrested when they go out in public. Bito, do you have something against all the writers of the world? No. Why? Anyway, that writer's passion got through the poor translation, and Zaskar decided, we'll hold a special joint subsidized mini event on just the Japanese server. They ended up calling it Squad Jam, or SJ for short. The sponsors made up that name, so I don't know if English is proper or not. I see. So, no connection to squid paste? You still haven't gotten over that, huh? They're looking for participating teams for SJ, and the sign-up deadline is on the 28th, midday next Wednesday. The event happens the following Sunday, February 1st. That seems very sudden. Are they going to get enough entries? From what it sounds like, they got a decent number of teams to sign up right away, so they're not worried about having to cancel the event due to lack of participation. This is more like a test run than anything else, so as long as they don't get a huge rush of teams, there won't be any preliminaries. It seems like there are a lot of people happy about getting to jump right into the final event. I mean, even the preliminaries of the BOB are packed with total aces. And the ones who would be potential Bob finalists are going to pass on this. They usually don't play well with others. They'd rather take a nap than trust their backs to someone else. You don't seem that interested, Len. It's the same thing I said about the Bob. I'm just not cut out for these PvP tournaments. That's a funny thing to hear from a girl who makes it for such an effective and ruthless assassin. That's not... Well... Okay. Yes, exactly. And you do it so well. So this is what I wanted to say. You should enter, Len. Huh? Me? On a team with you? Sadly, very sadly, I have something to do on February 1st. The wedding of my best friend since middle school. If she ever found out I ditched her wedding to play some in-game event online, even if I actually won the dang thing, you'd get killed IRL instead. Exactly. In other words, if I search for every woman who appeared at a wedding in Japan on that day, your real identity would be among that list. Oh no, my cover's gonna get blown. But anyway, I really want you to participate, Len. You free that day? No friends' weddings? No wedding of your own? Well, I'd have to check my calendar to be sure, but I'm pretty sure I'm open that day. Then it's settled. Don't worry, I'll handle the paperwork. The whole team gets registered at once, so all I need is your name. Wait. Who said I was playing? Experience is everything, my dear. But this is a team event, right? Who am I going to team up with? I can see that you're getting excited for this. Very good. It was a neutral question. There's another player I know who's pretty damn talented. He's a dude, and frankly, he's kind of a weirdo. Deep down, he's pretty much a criminal. But he's not a bad guy. Not a good guy, either. But that's your partner. Good luck. Huh? Just the two of us? Yep, just you two. Nobody else was available. Beto, did you think I was going to say, yay, I'm all in, to that? Experience is everything, my dear. Yeah, but... Listen, Len, if you ask me, you've got some problems you're dealing with in the real world. Huh? Surprised, Len finally turned to look at Pitahui. Normally, the taller woman would snap. No looking over here, while she ought to be keeping a watch, but not this time. Pitahui gave her a look like a kindly therapist, albeit one with facial tattoos, and said, "There's something in the real world that's got you down, huh? That's why you came to GGO, to blow off steam, or more cynically, to escape your troubles?" You're looking at me like, how did you know? It's obvious. That's how it was for me, too. there's way too much stuff in the real world that gets me down or pisses me off, so I'll tear it up in here instead. I get to come in, guns blazing, and kill tons of monsters and people. Pito. So, if you have the chance to do stuff you can't do in real world, why not make the most of it? That's all I'm saying. Will you ever get a chance to experience a team battle royale gunfight in the real world? Don't you want to join? Len continued shaking her head in resistance, but Pitahui never removed that gentle smile of a child-persuading parent, albeit one with facial tattoos. She wrapped it up by announcing, "So let's kick some ass! If I don't hear back from you by Wednesday morning, I'm going to assume you're all in and sign you up." Oh, jeez. What am I going to do about this squad jam thing? It's a team battle event. I just don't know if I'm into this, Karen complained, back in the real world. Then she placed the P90 in her hands on the clothing rack. She'd spotted the air gun by coincidence 2 weeks earlier on a very famous internet shopping website. The thought of having her very own peach hand to hold in her hands was too tempting to pass up. She had ordered the P90 air gun as well as a recommended for people who buy this item little P90 shaped keychain charm. When the air gun arrived the next day, Karen was stunned. Was the gun supposed to be this small? Oh, silly me. It must be smaller because an air gun is designed to be more compact than the real thing. But within moments, she realized her mistake. It was the same object. It felt so differently only because of the size variation between when she was Karen and when she was Len. The realization nearly knocked her for a loop. Still, she liked the gun, and kept it displayed in her room at all times, even though it was still colored black. She would just be careful to hide it away in her dresser when her sister and niece came over to visit. As for the keychain charm, she colored it pink with a marker. It looked great, just like P-chan. She considered attaching it to the bag she always took to school, then realized that there was no college-age women who went around with little gun toys dangling from their keychains, so she hung it up on her wall instead. GGO was a fun game, a truly fun time, so Karen didn't mind paying the 3,000 yen monthly fee, which was quite high for that type of game. While it wasn't necessarily always fun in games, she'd also made a friend in Pitahui. But because it was so fun, that always made her return to real life that much more dreary. VR games were like a big fun dream, but one couldn't just hang out on their dreams all the time. Dreams were possible only because they stood apart from the real world. If the settings were switched, it would be more like a nightmare. Karen couldn't help but find this ironic. She started playing this VR game to get away from the pain of real life, and the contrast between this and the real world just made it more painful now. But if she had to pick one or the other, she would obviously have to stick with real life. Once things got busier at school, once she started looking for a job, once she was working as an adult, once she got married, once she had kids, escaping into the VR world would no longer be an option. Of course, there were people who gave up on real life to play VR games, but they were known as online addicts or invalids. Not the best role model for all the good little boys and girls. So Karen had recently been thinking about that particular option, cutting off all ties to the VR world cold turkey, while it still wasn't too painful to leave the dream world, and more importantly, before she felt like quitting wasn't an option. She understood that, in the long run, this was the best thing for her to do. In all honesty, she wasn't into the idea of trying out the squad jam at all. She could always enjoy being a virtual shrimp just by logging in to GGO. She was having plenty of fun fighting monsters already. She'd gotten into fighting players for a time, and that was certainly fun too. Going up against powerful opponents did make her heart soar, but that didn't mean she was actively seeking it out. Plus, she wasn't into the idea of entering this tournament with an unfamiliar man at all. Even if Pituhui vouched for him, she couldn't imagine being an effective team with him. Obviously, they were going to try to win, but she was going to drag him down. On the other hand, she understood Pituhui's message about undertaking the challenge of finding a new side of herself. That was why she started playing VR games in the first place. She couldn't give up and run away now. But if she was going back out of the squad jam, could this also be the best point to just make a clean break from VR games entirely? Surely she could keep going for a bit, at least while she was a student, before she started applying for jobs. Her family was always bugging her to get more hobbies. Wasn't that exactly what this was? To play or not to play, back and forth, several minutes of indecisive agony passed without bearing fruit. When she didn't know what to do, it was time to reach out to a friend. She decided to call her VR mentor and ALO playing friend, Miyu, for advice. What's up, Kouhi? Fortunately, Miyu wasn't logged in. She was the only one who could actually give her good advice on the topic. Karen revealed the problem weighing her down and asked, "What do you think I should do? You're my VR gaming mentor. I need your frank opinion." "Well, obviously, if it's fun, you should keep doing it," she replied. "If you're stuck between two options, you're going to have regrets no matter what you choose, you know? Human beings are built so that we overrate whatever option we don't take. Basically, you're fine with either option, so you might as well flip a coin if you want to." "I see. So what if I flip a coin and I think I don't want that? What if I feel some resistance to the choice God made for me?" "Then it means that deep down you secretly wanted the other option more, right? So choose that one instead. It's simple." "Oh, good point. If you'll allow me to be totally selfish, I like things the way they are now, when I can actually talk to you about games. Yeah, I know that's self-centered." Karen was beginning to think that maybe she could turn down SJ but still play GGO for a bit longer. "Huh? Wait," Miyu said. "But February 1st is the day of Elsa Kanzaki's big concert. Weren't you going to go if you got the tickets?" "Oh," Karen hastily snapped open her planner and saw that she had indeed written that down. She'd completely forgotten. Not once had Karen ever succeeded at getting Elsa Kanzaki tickets. She always played smaller venues, so the tickets came at a premium. Karen wasn't asking for a stadium tour, but it'd be nice if she'd perform somewhere a bit larger, like a proper concert hall. On the other end of the call, Miyu was checking the online auction sites for any of the sold-out tickets. "You're right. I totally forgot. Sorry. Well, if I get tickets, I'm obviously turning down the event. We'll go together, okay? You can stay at my place." "Cool. But what if it doesn't work out? Honestly, based on my experience, our chances of getting these tickets is about 50-50 at this point." "When will you find out if we won?" "4 in the afternoon on a Tuesday." What incredible timing. Karen decided to wager her squad jam appearance on that coin toss. She was conveniently ignoring the greater question of whether she'd keep playing the game or not for now. Okay, let me know then. If you win the tickets, I'll turn down the tournament. The January weather in Tokyo was consistently clear. To Karen, who had grown up in chilly Hokkaido, it wasn't the relative warmth that was the novel, but the total dryness. On the other hand, her throat hurt, her skin was awful, and it was painful to keep feeding the humidifier in the apartment, so she didn't like the experience very much. Her apartment was barely a mile from the college. That was just one station on the subway. Unless the weather was bad, Karen always walked. She preferred that to looking at her reflection in the train window, and the exercise was better for her anyway. January 27th, just before 4 o'clock on Tuesday, Karen's classes were over, and she walked across campus with the early sunset of winter fast approaching. It was hardly needed to be said that she was alone. Around her, she heard people excitedly getting ready to hit the bars or meet up with their school clubs. But none of that meant anything to Karen. It was all happening in a different world. She headed home, wearing jeans, sneakers, and a thin coat as she passed under decorative trees bare of leaves. Up ahead, she saw a group of 6 teenage girls approaching. They wore the same uniform, so their presence meant they were students at the affiliated high school on campus. It wasn't at all uncommon for her to pass this particular group. It happened 2 or 3 times a week, ever since last summer. Karen could recognize their faces now. Based on the large sports bag they carried, she could assume they were in some kind of athletics club. The college's gymnasium was large enough that they could sometimes hold joint practices with the high school teams. One of the girls was white, with beautiful blonde hair, pale skin, and blue eyes. Either a foreign transfer student or the daughter of a foreigner living in Japan. Both cases would not be particularly rare at this school. They were all short, to Karen at least, though they were probably normal by the standards of their age, and fragile, and so pretty. They talked and laughed and seemed to be having a great time. Just perfectly outgoing teenage girls enjoying the company of their friends in the prime of their youth. Would Karen have experienced her teenage years the same way if she hadn't grown up to be so tall? The thought cast an unavoidable gloom over her mind. None of this was the fault of those girls. As the group of 6 approached, Karen picked up her pace, determined to get home. She'd get word from Miu soon about whether they'd won the Elza Kanzaki tickets. 1 quiet person and 6 noisy ones passed without interaction.
"Hey, did you see her?" Karen heard one say. "She was really tall and—"
She didn't want to hear whatever came next. Karen hid her face and sped up, fleeing the scene. As she did, a certain desire bubbled up within her. I want to shoot them. I want to shoot all 6. Her right hand grasped for Peach-hand, which would be slung on her front, but her fingers touched nothing. Karen fled home and slammed the door. Her smartphone buzzed the moment the automatic lock engaged. Miu's message said, "No luck." Karen walked over to the PC in her living room, booted it up, and started GGO. "Let's kick some ass," she wrote to Pitahui. It was just past 8 p.m. on Friday, January 30th. Karen finished an enjoyable dinner with her sister, brother-in-law, and niece, and then left their apartment. Her 4-year-old niece begged her to stick around and watch an animated movie that would be airing on TV soon. "Sorry, Aunt Karen needs to go do homework," she lied, then went back to her own place on a lower floor on the same high-rise apartment building. From there, she crossed dimensions into the virtual world. "Hey, Len, I knew I could count on you, Pituhui cheered, smacking Len on the shoulder in the bar in SBC Glocken, where they agreed to meet up. The way taller woman pounded on her, Len felt the tiny frame compressing even further. Ow, Pito, ow! Well, here I am, she said, looking around the dim and cramped booth. It was just the two of them. Oh, you're looking for your partner. Sorry, he'll be here soon. Look, I'll buy you the usual drink. Thanks. Is he shopping somewhere? Len asked, sitting across from Pituhui. By somewhere, she meant a shop in GGO. Nope, still IRL. I asked him for a favor, she replied. This came as a surprise to Len. If she was able to ask him a favor in real life and knew that he would be late as a result, wouldn't that suggest that this man was personally close to Pituhui? Could he be a boyfriend? A lover? Her husband? Perhaps even her son or father? Being careful not to speak her mind or let any hint of surprise cross her face, Len reached forward for the iced tea that rose from the center of the table and popped the straw into her mouth. The taste of cold, sweet iced tea saturated her taste buds, though the sensation wasn't as sharp as the real thing. Still, she didn't have to worry about gaining weight or needing to visit the bathroom later. Pituhui took a huge swig of some citrus concoction colored like a tropical fish. Did you read the Squad Jam rules? Knowing you, I bet you read every last word, but I'll go over them just in case. Len indicated that she had, secretly marveling at how well the other woman understood her. After she'd filled out the forms for the event, an email had come in from Zaskar, the company that operated the game. She'd read it very carefully, without skimming any part. The basic rules of Squad Jam were the same as the Bob. It's a free-for-all counterpart. But there are a few very big differences. As for the similar rules, all participants, teams will be teleported to a location over a kilometer away from one another. The last to survive is the winner. The match takes place on a special map. The details will not be revealed prior to the event, but it will contain a variety of terrain. Some positions will be more advantageous than others, but all starting locations are random and subject to luck. Any weapons the character possesses are eligible during battle. This includes not just guns, but explosive knives, etc. Vehicles located on the map are available to use. Rather than breaking apart and disappearing, bodies will remain on the map for a set period of time with a dead tag above them. Upon death, there will be no random drops, in which a dead character's items, including guns, have a random chance of being lost. To prevent one-sided running and hiding, there will be a periodic satellite scan. The scan will identify the positions of all players and beam the data to each player's portable device for a brief time. Any questions so far? Pituhui asked, after she had pointed out each of the rules on the floating screen. I'm fine. The only thing I'm wondering about is how to operate the satellite scan terminal. It's not that hard, as long as you know how to use a smartphone. Now, about the important stuff. The specific rules about Squad Jam. Obviously, the biggest thing was the number of participants. There is no individual participation. Teams must be composed of 2 to 6 players. Attacking teammates by accidental friendly fire or blast damage will inflict standard damage. Communication items that were forbidden in Bob are allowed between teammates. It is not possible to communicate with external or dead players. Pituhui put a finger to her ear and said, I'll give you an in-ear comm. It's the same one I used earlier. Got it. It was a two-way comm, meaning you could speak and hear through it simultaneously, making it essentially the same as a phone. Ordinary radios were one-sided, so you could speak to the other person only when holding down a button. On the other hand, two-way communications meant you always heard everyone. So the more people involved, the bigger a mess it became. This was a decision that came down to personal preferences. But for a team of just 2 players, two-way communication was the easiest solution. The next big difference. Bodies disappear after 10 minutes, and players can return to the bar. This is probably because it's not as strict as an event as the Bob. With the amount of money being gambled on during Bob, they force the players to stay in their static body until a winner is declared, to prevent any kind of information leak in the meantime. Ah, I see. But in the squad jam, you don't have to wait all the way to the end if you die. You'd better not be planning to die early. No, ma'am. I'll fight to the bitter end. That's better. The timing of the satellite scan was also altered. The intervals between satellite scans have been reduced from 15 minutes to 10 minutes. This is designed to reduce the length of the event itself. The Bob usually wraps up around 2 hours after it starts, and this is almost guaranteed to be shorter. It'll start at 2 p.m. on Sunday, and it could even be done within an hour. That quickly? By my keen, insightful estimate, who says that about themselves? Why can't I? My point is, if you survive over an hour in this tournament, that's very impressive. Oh, I get it. Since we're in teams, it might turn into a huge firefight right away. Exactly. Any enemies will be at least a kilometer away at the start, but that gap can be closed in a hurry at a total sprint, so you can't be careless. In a visible spot, you'll be vulnerable to sniping at 800 meters, and they can hit you with a machine gun fire at 600. But I'll leave that stuff up to the person you'll actually be playing with, Pituhui said, referencing the stranger who had yet to arrive. But here's the most important part of the SJ rules. Pay attention, because it'll be on the test. She pointed at the screen. In its characteristic abbreviated tone, the rule read, "The satellite scan will only display the position of the squad leader. Tapping a player marker on BOB displayed the player's name, but in SJ, the team name will not be viewable." What does that mean? Well, with up to 6 players on a team, if it showed everyone at once, the screen would be absolute chaos. I see. So, instead, it'll only display the leader. Now, can anyone tell me what this means? You, Len, Miss Pituhui commanded. Ever the dutiful student, Len thought it over for a few seconds. You can't see the other members on the map, so they could be hiding. And the exact location of the leader could be used as a trap. Exactly. Spoken like the devious antlion trapmeister that you are, Len. You're so quick to learn. Please don't bring that up. But that was a compliment. Jeez, the brutally dehumanizing way you used to attack your victims. What a thrill. Can we get back on topic? You were pointing out that satellite scans have a different meaning in Squad Jam than in the Battle of Bullets. Indeed, but on the other hand, splitting your team up too much has its own disadvantages. Got it. Question, teacher. Yes, Len? What happens if the team leader dies? Does the team automatically lose? No, because that wouldn't be fun for everyone, would it? And the leader's the only one whose location gets revealed, so they could get picked off by a sniper. No, It just continues like it would in a real battle. What do you mean? If the commander of a military group dies, the person in the next rank down, or the senior member, if there are more than one, takes command. So in SJ, the team is ranked in order when you sign up, and thus leadership passes down to second, then third, and so on. Okay, well, since there are only two of us, that saves us the trouble of deciding all that, huh? We're really set on competing with just two. Yep, good luck with that. Wouldn't it be cool if you won just as a duo? I guess. There's also a rule that only the leader can surrender, and in that case, the entire team is out. That doesn't mean much to you either. Basically, it's there in case you lose too many of your members and feel like there's no chance you can win anymore. Ah, uh-huh. Len popped her straw into her mouth to suck down the last of the iced tea. And that's all for the rules, Captain Len. She nearly spat out all the liquid. What? Huh? Doing some vocal exercises? No! What do you mean I'm the leader? Why? Is the person I'm teaming up with worse than me? Come on, keep it together. And no, of course the other guy is very tough. Then why? Len asked again, her entire face one giant question mark. The tattooed Pitahui replied, "It's a secret. Consider it part of the plan." Len couldn't think of anything to say. The booth fell silent. Just then, a deep male voice said, "Sorry I'm late," and a huge man entered the space. "Sorry I'm late," and a huge man entered the space.